You know how some days just feel off, even before anything actually happens? That's how it was for me, my first day back behind the wheel. I'd spent a week recovering from a concussion, the result of a stupid, random, wrong place, wrong time hit and run. I kept telling myself I was ready, a mantra chanted in the quiet of my apartment. You're fine, you've healed. Just route the orders, drive, deliver, go home. But my arm tensed on the steering wheel every time a light turned yellow, a leftover tremor from the accident. I parked in my usual waiting spot, the engine's steady hum a comfort. My phone buzzed with that aggressive notification tone I'd forgotten I hated, demanding a forced app update. Please wait, it read, a little spinning wheel circling beneath. Installing new features to improve your delivery experience. I rolled my eyes, trying not to think about how much of my life was dictated by code I couldn't see. The first order came through, a welcome slice of normal. A small bag from a sandwich shop, a 10-minute drive to a brick house with a tidy lawn. The delivery was seamless. I left the order on the porch, snapped a photo, and was back in my car before the app could even register the completion. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. See? Simple. Then the second order popped up. I blinked because at first the address just didn't make sense. It was like someone had mashed together half the intersections in the city into a single location. Ridgeway, Arno, and St. Felix at Junction Zero. I'd lived here my whole life and never heard of Junction Zero. The GPS loaded, spun, glitched, and then spun again. Instead of a neat blue line, the map kept folding in on itself, suggesting impossible turns before erasing them. The pin flickered like a dying light bulb. My headache threatened to creep back. I called support. The agent on the other end was pleasant and professional. "Junction Zero?" he asked, a hint of amused confusion in his voice. "Yeah, that's not showing up on my end either. Sounds like a system glitch. I'll go ahead and cancel that for you. Sorry for the trouble, Ellie." A wave of relief washed over me. Just a glitch. I parked and waited. The next order appeared and another wave of relief followed. 1500 St. Felix Way. A real street. A real address. Finally, back to normal. I accepted and put the car in drive, following the calm, computerized voice of the GPS. The route on the screen looked perfectly normal, a clean blue line guiding me toward a familiar part of town. "Turn left onto Arno Street," the app instructed. A faint prickle of unease, but I shook it off. It was a common street name. A few minutes later, it chirped again. "In 200 feet, turn right onto Ridgeway Avenue." My grip tightened on the steering wheel. No, it had to be a coincidence. The voice was so certain, so blandly reassuring. "You have arrived. Your destination is on the right." I pulled over and looked up, but there was no house. No number 1500. There was nothing but an empty, weed-choked lot where three streets, Ridgeway, Arno, and St. Felix, seemed to bleed into one another under a silent, unblinking traffic light. It was the same impossible place. The app was calling it 1500 St. Felix Way, but my whole body screamed that this was Junction Zero. My heart started thumping a frantic, unsteady rhythm. I did what any rational person would do. Called support again. My palms were clammy on the steering wheel as I waited. The support agent's voice cracked through so loud I jumped. "Hi, Ellie. Calling about the delivery at Ridgeway, Arno, and St. Felix." He pronounced my name perfectly, which never happens. A prickly sensation crawled up my arms. I hadn't even told him which order I was on. "Yeah," I said, my voice sounding small and distant. "The address isn't real. The app sent me to a place that doesn't exist. Can you—" "Oh, don't worry," he cut in, his tone falsely cheerful. "A little confusion is normal after head trauma, but you'll get the hang of all your routes again. Junction Zero is easy, once you remember which turn you missed." My lungs seized. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. He knew. How could he know? He kept talking, his voice gratingly optimistic. Just follow the prompts, Ellie. We know you'll get back where you belong. If you're ever confused, just call. We can always help. I hung up, my hand trembling. I sat in silence, swallowing nothing, staring at that impossible place as the June sunlight pressed down on the dashboard, as if trying to squash me flat. The phone blared again. Not a new order, just that same flickering address. Underneath, a message. Remember to ring twice. Customer is sensitive to loud noise. My brain snagged on the words. Ring quietly. The instruction was a perfect little knot of nonsense, a trap laid in plain text. It wasn't a mistake or a system error. It felt like a test with no right answer, deliberately designed to be impossible. The absurdity of it was somehow more chilling than the phantom address. This felt personal, a whisper aimed directly at the fraying edges of my sanity. What customer? My finger hovered over the notification when another one came through. A file sent from the app itself. It was a photo time-stamped 2 days after my accident, when I was supposed to be sedated in a hospital bed. The image was of me, standing on an unfamiliar porch, grinning and holding out a delivery bag. I don't own that shirt. That's not my watch. I threw the phone into the passenger seat as if it were on fire, breath coming in ragged snaps. I remembered the hospital, the taste of stale ice chips, the endless fluorescent ceiling tiles. There was no way I was making drop-offs. No way that photo could exist. Another vibration. This time, a review. Ellie was sweet and asked about my dog again. Hope your arm heals. See you next Wednesday. It was dated from the middle of my blacked-out week. Panic clawed at my throat. I stabbed at the call button for support, praying for anyone else. The line clicked. Faintly through the static, I heard breathing. Then a voice, my own voice, answered from an impossible distance. Ellie, you're almost there. Orders left. 1. I yanked the key from the ignition, ready to abandon everything. But when I blinked, the sun had shifted. My phone was back in my hand, glowing with a new instruction. Don't forget to use your left hand. The customer prefers the bag that way. I looked down at my left hand. A purple, half-healed scar I'd never seen before slashed across the knuckles. My chest was so tight I couldn't scream. The app was logging actions faster than I could remember living them. I opened my photo gallery. My blurry hospital selfies were still there, but impossibly threaded between them were action shots. Me smiling on strangers' porches under bleeding sunsets, hands full of deliveries I never gave. There were even personal texts to someone named Pam, complaints about coffee, an inside joke that didn't exist. It was a timeline spliced with a life I hadn't lived. The impossible address pulsed again on the screen. I knew, somehow, that this wasn't about a glitchy app. It was about me, all the versions of me that kept driving while I was unconscious. The app wouldn't let me look away. Every time I blinked, I saw headlights blooming. Junction 0. It's where I went down. It's where I had to go. So I drove. It didn't feel like driving. Every street was floaty, fluorescent lit, numbers on signs swimming in the corners of my eyes. My phone vibrated again and again, a voice in my ear that sounded like mine, but warped, underwater, reminding me, left hand, gentle with the bag, ring the bell just so. The intersection swallowed everything. All 4 lights green, no traffic, no sound. The world held its breath. I parked or the car stopped itself. The app dinged. Delivery window closing. Make contact. The bag, someone's dinner or someone's heart, was in my left hand. The scar split the knuckle, sharp as new glass. I stepped out. The curb was cold. The air stung, chemical clean, the smell of a hospital gift shop. The houses here flickered, overlapped, same stoop, infinite versions, stacking up like bad dreams. The door in front of me was wrong. Too many handles, numbers looping over themselves. My hand lifted, trembling. I paused, then pressed the bell, once, twice, a light, hesitant touch, exactly as instructed. Time broke. I was on the steps. I was still in the car. I was sliding under the crosswalk, teeth in my mouth like shattered keys. I was asleep on plastic hospital sheets. I was everywhere all at once, delivering to doors that opened onto nothing but more doors, more Ellies inside, all just out of sight. A voice came from behind the door, bubbling out of static. My own voice. "Thanks, Ellie." I let go of the bag. It hung there, lighter than air, turning to pixels. For a moment, I saw all the other Ellies, endless. One limping back to the car, one collapsing in the street, me pressed to glass, watching someone else ring a bell at my own door. This was it. This wasn't a malfunction. It was an attempt to merge every fractured timeline back together. "Tip pending," the phone whispered. It wasn't my phone now, not my hand, not my scar. I was only the gap between snapshots, the fracture between before and after. Maybe there was never one reality. Maybe I was just a delivery, something that had to be dropped off again and again until one of us made it home. I rang the bell a last time, just in case the version behind the door was listening. Then the app dinged, delivered, and everything inside me emptied out, gone before I could scream.